Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I am your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the festival director and program director for Something Wicked Film Festival and Events, and welcome to this podcast. We are doing a couple of, very special episodes this month in homage or to recognize the amazing talents of the writer, producer, director, Roger Corman, who recently passed away a month or so ago. So we're doing some episodes to highlight some of his most infamous and famous films. And the one we're going to be doing tonight is what are we doing tonight? No, we're not.
Piranha 2, The Spawning.
We're doing Piranha. Sorry, everybody. We had this great conversation before starting this episode in which we were discussing everything Roger Corman and, of course, The Keep before getting to this episode. But we are doing Piranha tonight. From 1978.
The Keep was Michael Mann. I know you know it is, but people listening might think you think that it's Roger Corman.
Yes, Roger Corman did not do The Keep. That was Michael Mann's first film, I believe. Or second, it was one of his earliest films. I know that.
Possibly.
Must have been.
Yeah, but we're going to be
Apparently, he was not happy with The Keep. Is that right?
Right, but I guess we ought to talk about Piranha.
Okay.
Executive produced by Roger Corman.
So if you are familiar with the voices that are with me today, my special guests are Nate Hill and Dave Watkins, who have been on the show a lot of times beforehand. And as normal on the show, Conversations in Horror, we just kind of go on tangents sometimes, as we might tonight, as it sounds like it might end up doing. But we are going to start off with Piranha from 1978, which was directed by Joe Dante. And I'm trying to remember who wrote it.
John Sayles.
John Sayles. Thank you, John Sayles. Before he started doing art house films. So, gentlemen, let me know, because we like to tell everybody our first impressions of this movie, or tell a little bit about that in regards to this movie, Piranha.
So I think Nate watched it for the first time, right, Nate?
Yes, I did. This was a first for me. And
Oh, wow.
I'm pleasantly surprised. Normally, I have a hard time saying through 1970s horror movies. But Piranha, much to my surprise, was very watchable. All credit to Joe Dante here. You know, he did a better job than I would have expected. And of course, Joe Dante would later go on to direct classics like Gremlins and The Burbs and what have you.
Gremlins 2. The new batch.
Oh, let's not talk about Gremlins 2.
I like Gremlins 2.
Oh, God. I'm still reeling from that one decades later, but
that's okay. Gremlins 3 will be out soon, or the Mogwai television show, or whatever the heck they're working on right now.
He also did The Howling, which is also written by John Sayles as well.
Yes. John Sayles, like I said, he did a lot of great movies early on in his career before going into the art house films.
I like some of his art house movies too.
I love his movies.
Yeah, like Lone Star was pretty good, and was it Mate one, I think. But so my first time I watched it, I think I saw it on TV edited with commercials, and I liked it. I liked the. Now that I know now that everything in the movie was shot not on. I mean, it's shot in a studio, so it looks very natural, and the lighting, exterior lighting, it all looks really unique as far as if you're not used to seeing something shot on location, and which it was. But I think as far as the one thing that kind of took me by surprise watching the movie is like when all the kids start getting eaten by the piranhas. I wasn't expecting them to get eaten by the piranhas like that, but I think it has a good. The script is good though. It does have a good structure to it. So I don't know.
Spielberg called it the best of the Jaws ripoff films.
Yes, he has, and a lot of critics have actually reiterated that through the years. It's the best.
Actually, with their Jaws 2 came out the same summer, and the people who were producing that, I think it was Universal, were trying to stop Piranha at one point, but then Steven Spielberg kind of stepped in and gave it a positive review or something like that. So like, I guess we better like let them put the movie out. It's like,
So people out there listening to this are probably going to hate me because I didn't watch Piranha until after I had already seen Piranha 2: The Spawning. So when I saw Piranha for the first time, I was wondering why the fucking Piranha weren't flying. So
Right. And that is a problem that they don't fly because they can only eat you in the water. If they fly, they can come out of the water and get you.
My problem is that there is really only one piranha able to like get out of the water, apparently.
But in the Piranha 2, there's only
No,
one
in
that
the
can get out.
first Piranha 1
Yeah.
here, not referring to.
Does one get out of the water? Oh, yeah, hits the guy in the face like Paul
Yeah.
Bartel's character. Yeah.
Actually, I'm referring to this quick moment where the two main characters named Maggie McKeown and what was it?
Paul.
Yeah, Paul Grogan. They're exploring the lab where the piranha were created, and there's
Oh
this
yeah, that's
quick-
right.
Yeah, there's this quick moment where unknown to them, you see like a piranha with four legs,
So
walking around,
yeah.
sneaking around the ground, just out of sight.
So I was listening to the director's commentary, Joe Dante, on that one, and so that's not. I guess it's kind of a hybrid of a piranha. He didn't ever say that, but he said it's just some creature in there, and they were like going to they're thinking about doing something else with it later in the movie, but it just never worked out. But
Yeah.
it's a pretty cool little sequence. And he said like at one point, like somebody reading the script, I think Bradford Dillman like was just like, what is going on with this? You know, it's kind of questioning what was what was up with that.
Well, it's a lab where they're experimenting on piranhas, and you see that one creature that may or may not be a piranha or a piranha hybrid, and then you don't really see anything else from the lab. You just see the regular piranha that just kind of escaped.
I think the original plan was like to like have the final shot like this huge gigantic piranha just like looking out over a beach as they fade out. The implication is that there's going to be a lot more carnage in the near future, but people sobered up by that point, I believe, and plans were changed. But they still had this cool little stop motion moment that they
I like that part though. But speaking of sobering up, it's very interesting watching it now, which it kind of went over my head at the time because I wasn't drinking at the time. But the main character is just like straight up drinking straight liquor for half the movie.
I don't think I noticed that either until I rewatched it. I was like, oh, dude, this dude's drinking all the time.
And he's like walking through the woods. He fills up his like thermos or whatever. He's just chugging it, and it's like. And he has like his neighbor brings him like a few bottles, and he's just like happy as a freaking lamb, It's like whole face lights up when he sees that bottle of liquor,
So when you rewatch these movies, the 70s were such an innocent time for film. You could get away with that. In the remake nowadays, he'd probably be drinking either an energy drink or what do you call those fitness waters.
I think. Well, I guess like the writing behind it, so he just has gotten a divorce and he's just been holed up in this cabin drinking. They never do anything with it past halfway through the movie, even though I guess he kind of stops drinking and he kind of becomes a hero. And then, I'm sure like after then the piranhas about eat him up. Yeah, sure. After he got over that, he probably went back to drinking, I would assume. Having scarred by the piranhas,
He's a questionable father figure to his daughter.
Yeah.
An out of work drunk guy living out in the woods.
But he put her in the summer camp, so he don't even have to mess with the daughter. But he actually must have done a good job beforehand because half the movie they're trying to get over there to get the daughter and save her, but they don't even have to do that because she saves herself and then saves some other people too,
That's right. Her character arc is like getting over her fear of the water.
Yeah.
And like getting her shit together and getting out there to try to save the other kids from the flesh-eating piranhas.
She saves like one of the two counselor ladies.
Well, it's weird because you have this. It's a character arc that's like almost done in like 3 big scenes. You see, You see
Yes.
her and the counselor. She's trying to convince her that not to be afraid of the water. And of course, she has to swim from one section to the next section in order to pass her test. Or
Yeah.
I forget what it was exactly, but she has to pass that. And I'm like, why do people send people to a summer camp where half of it's in the water if you got a daughter who can't fucking swim? That doesn't. Or I guess she can swim, but she's just afraid of the water, which doesn't really make much sense to me when I rewatched it. But I go with the flow.
He had to get her out of there so he could drink straight liquor all day. It's like he can't just hang out. It's like you got to go.
Oh shit. So for everyone out there who may have forgotten or never seen the movie Piranha, which is a very simple concept, just to bring some of the plot up, since we have been talking about John Sayles' script and of course Joe Dante, the fact that two sex crazed teenagers venture off into a water testing laboratory pool that they think is just
water refinery.
Yeah, they just think
it's really industrial.
So you're talking about the opening scene,
Yes.
where we see the nudity right away.
You remember where we see that nudity.
Yeah. So the girl takes off her shirt, and then so yeah.
At this industrial plant.
Yeah.
That makes sense to just jump in the water at an industrial plant. Right? We're gonna forgive some of these things.
Even the guy there wonders if it's like a sewage treatment place.
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna jump in. It kind of the water doesn't look quite right. It does look like it could have sewage in it.
But it's funny to us now when we're watching it in the 70s. Like I said, it was a much more innocent time.
It's very similar to the opening scene of Jaws, really,
Yes.
in a way. And I do like the acting with those two actors in that scene. I thought they seemed very, very they were kind of doing it a little tongue in cheek, but I did like their performances there, even though it was short lived.
Better than your average porn stars.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, so they get killed, and then of course, I forget what is she? She's not a
She's
reporter.
a skip tracer, apparently.
Skip tracer. Okay.
Who's hired to track down these two missing teens.
Mm-hmm.
And in the process of going after them, she comes across the drunk guy, Paul Grogan, and
Played by Bradford Dillman.
And Paul Grogan is drafted into guiding her up through the woods and after the probable location where these two teens went, and they wind up in the same location as the Piranha.
Now, one thing, and then so she's a skip tracer, and so she's running. That's where their bodies are in the water. Some they find her like I think it's a necklace that belongs to her. I think it's a necklace or some kind of yeah. But anyway, so she really fucks up the whole thing. Everything would have been fine had she not done this. They go inside. She's like, "We're gonna drain the pond. I bet their bodies are in there. We're just gonna fucking drain it." And then that's when the crazy doctor guy shows up.
But not before we see that stop motion Piranha.
Yeah. But this during the same sequence, and then she goes and started to pull the lever. He starts fighting her. They end up beating his ass, and then pull the lever and drain the pond, which releases the piranhas into the stream. And then then she never really accepts responsibility for any of that.
No, she doesn't.
She really doesn't care. She doesn't like, I probably shouldn't have done that,
Yeah, but it allows the audience to see Kevin McCarthy reprising his almost crazy invasion of the body snatcher role, where he's being a little bit crazy, where he's almost a little crazy.
He's really good in this. I mean,
he is.
He doesn't live long enough in the movie, So
unfortunately,
yeah.
True.
I mean,
not before he establishes that these are in fact mutant piranhas that can survive in a American river outside saltwater. But
yeah. So he's got an exposition kind of dump. There's a really awesome sequence where they get on. I guess was it a raft that Bradford Dillman had made, and then they go down the river, like all three of them, and it's a cool sequence for the whole thing. And
Paul, the drunk guy, he did take the time to help out his daughter with this, apparently Tom Sawyer project, where they built this river raft to take out Apparently,
I kind of feel like maybe he doesn't. I don't know. All the dialogue in the script indicates him drinking all the time, but maybe he didn't drink when the daughter was there, and only when he sent her to summer camp did he.
I got that impression too. I got that impression. I was like, he was a good father, and then he sent her off to summer camp, and that's when he would drink. He wouldn't drink in front of her.
Yeah, but the wife had died, and so maybe the wife and they were doing it together, and he just kind of So I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
those interesting character moments, but I never took him as a bad father. Despite the fact that he was, in my eyes, when I rewatched it, he was a constant drunk.
yes.
I never took him.
He seems to be a fairly highly functioning drunk.
Yeah.
While he's drinking,
it's a pretty decent raft. All things considered.
It is until the piranha get to it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So apparently Joe Dante was talking about that sequence when the piranhas take the raft apart, and he says, he's like, there's no reason why this sequence ever should have worked. He's like, we were shooting it and we never got a wide shot. He's like, it's just a bunch of shots thrown together, and for some reason it works. Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I never.
Does the scientist get eaten before or after the raft falls apart?
It's before, and this actually really annoys me. What happens with that? It's so unnecessary.
Yeah, his body his body and blood is what triggers a piranha to eat the rope.
Yeah. But he, I guess there's a kid on a canoe, and he knows the piranhas are going to eat you, and he decides to jump in the water and swim to the kid. Like that's going to do any good? And most other characters wouldn't even get that far before the piranhas ate them.
They really could have waited until the raft actually reached the kid.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was actively sinking. It seemed like they may have had a few more minutes. I don't know. It was. It was like a weird. I guess it was. They thought maybe it was a character arc for the character who. I guess he did feel guilty about releasing the piranhas, and that's the first person he saw that he could actually help. I think everyone they saw before that was he couldn't really get to them. They were already dead.
Yeah. Kid's father, his death scene kind of bothered me too. I think one lesson that can easily be learned from this movie is that if you have an arm or a leg dangling in the water and you start to feel something bite you, take your parts out of the water. That should be your first move right there,
I don't know. Naturally, I would just kind of go into the water towards it to see what it is. It's like, what's this? Biting my hand to see what's going on.
Wait a minute. Maybe I should just move my arm around a bit more, instead of taking.
Yeah.
You do realize, gentlemen, that the more we talk about the movie's faults, the less it becomes a viable classic movie for us, right?
Well, I think there's entertainment in that too. Now, and Joe Dante's defense on that particular scene with the father. Now, this is an odd thing. There's a lot of these scenes that he didn't direct, that he calls it second unit, and it's like scenes like that. It's like a second unit director directed that scene.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, huh. I mean, yeah, you have to listen to his commentary. He tells you which scenes they are, but it's like. I don't know. I mean, you think that you would want to direct every scene in the movie, unless it's B-roll or something,
Yeah.
Because of a lack of budget.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. Okay. They probably had very few days to shoot the whole thing, so
here's some Roger Corman trivia. So on the disc, the Shout Factory disc, there's a Roger Corman there is a Roger Corman commentary throughout the whole movie. But he doesn't talk about the movie most of the time. But he talks about a bunch of his other movies during it. But one thing he was saying about this movie, and so Joe Dante and I don't know if I have it written down here, but there's another director who they directed another movie before this, and then they directed it together, and I think it's called Hollywood Boulevard.
Hollywood Boulevard, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the other guy's name right now, but they. So he told them because they did that, he'd give them each an opportunity to direct their own feature. And so the other guy did a Rock and Roll High School, and then he picked Piranha. And so that's kind of Roger Corman saying all that. But when you hear Joe Dante's version of it, he was like, so Roger Corman was like, we were shooting some second unit, and he was like, this is not the first or second day of shooting, and he was like, Roger Corman decided he didn't want to shoot the movie anymore because second unit was costing too much money. So he like pulled the plug on the movie. And then like a week later, he decided to go back and he decided, okay, I guess we'll do it, but we're going to like lose like quarter of the budget, you know?
Really? I read that like
Well, that's
they
what Joe.
slashed the budget at the last minute to move some funds over to another film called Avalanche.
I'm sure that's what the reason was. This is what Joe Dante said. That's his point of view. What happened? That's what they did. I'm sure what you're saying, but he's like kind of blindsided by the whole thing. He's like, I thought I was going to direct this movie, and suddenly Roger Corman's like, no, you're spending too much money on second unit. You know.
Oh wow.
That guy really did have his arm in the water too long. I mean, it cost a lot of money.
I don't even know what they were shooting that. He said that apparently a lot of the second unit wasn't usable because they went and shot all the raft stuff second unit, like wide shots of it, and apparently the paddles were a different color paddle than the paddles they used. They were like really bright, I think orange or something. The ones they used in the movie are like wooden color. So almost like 98% of that footage they couldn't use.
Oh wow.
Huh.
But Roger Corman obviously he was kind of known for pinching pennies, and he's kind of he's trying to do as much stuff as he could, and he thought that this movie it was going to cost too much money, which this movie ended up making a lot of money, surprisingly, when they got it finished. But as far as the flaws of the movie, I think I like the flaws in the movie. It's entertaining to a certain degree, but there's Kevin McCarthy's character jumping in the water and dying or whatever, I guess isn't necessarily a flaw. I would just prefer that didn't happen.
At least not like that.
Yeah.
When I watched the film when I was younger, I had no problems with it. But as I've gotten older, and I have watched this probably once every 3 to 4 years, but it's been more often now because I've seen this one and I saw the television remake that they did recently. So I got to watch, and that's almost virtually word for word the exact same fucking movie, just with different actors. I think Roger Corman said, "We already got a script. What do we need to rewrite for?" And just told them to make the movie again. And you're talking
about the 1995 one, right?
Yes,
because they made another one after that wasn't based on the same script. But
considering that the 95 one was straight for television, I'm guessing they made changes to the opening scenes.
Not really.
Well, there wasn't. They obviously didn't have nudity in it. It was probably like a bar or something in the way, so you don't see it. She might have just left her top on. Maybe, I don't know.
When I was watching it, I wasn't looking for the nudity. But if I ever rewatch the 95 version, I'll make sure to look for it just for you two.
Well, it can't be in there. If they did,
if it came on Sci-Fi, who knows what they put on Sci-Fi back then, But one of the things I liked about Piranha, and when I saw it, because like I said, I saw it after I'd seen Piranha 2, which at the time I didn't know who James Cameron was, but I didn't know who Lance Henriksen was because I'd seen him in so many other movies at the time. And of course, when I watched that one, seeing flying piranhas was just cool as shit. I don't care what anyone says. That movie was always cool as shit because it was flying fucking piranhas. And I was like, dude, you don't see that ever. And you still never will see flying piranhas again.
Well, you never know. I mean, like I was saying before, as a kind of joke, it doesn't add a new level to it, where in this movie, you feel anytime anybody's not in the water, they're safe. But here they could be walking around and the piranha could fly out of the water and get them, So
well, the one great thing I do love about Joe Dante is, of course, it has Barbara Steele in it. So I'm a huge Barbara Steele fan, and of course, what few scenes she's in, just like Kevin McCarthy is, she steals, in my opinion.
Apparently that character was originally supposed to be she's like an army person in it, but it's apparently supposed to be a male character first. And Joe Dante was like, I just decided I want to get Barbara Steele in the movie, so I rewrote that character.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm actually not familiar with that actress.
But she's
Barbara
kind of
Steele, really? Yeah. Oh my god, she's been done so many great movies.
Well, she's in a lot of it, like it's Italian horror, but she's in she's in the Pendulum.
Yep.
But I don't know for the movie she would, but she's like kind of like a scream queen, Italian scream queen or something.
Yeah, she did a lot of films with Mario Bava. She did a lot of movies for a lot of Italian directors. And
She was in the Dark Shadows remake they did in the 90s.
Yeah, she was in the Dark Shadows remake. That's probably one of her last things, actually. But
I think she's still. I mean, I think I was looking at her. If I'm not mistaken, she's still somewhat active doing voice work. She's
that's good.
yeah. I mean, it was funny as like her voice in the Pendulum was dubbed because it was like I guess her kind of she had like a British accent, but it was like kind of like not the right British accent. So they had to dub it because it wasn't the right type of accent for that time period. And so it's funny that she's doing voiceover stuff though now.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot she's one of the characters in the Netflix version of Castlevania.
Yeah.
That's why I had forgotten that she did that, because I kept thinking that she had stopped acting and retired, but they probably said, yeah, but she pretty much,
in a way, that is retiring. A lot of actors who retire, they still kind of do voice work here and there, but
yeah, you're right. She kind of stopped around 2016, but and there's a lot of bad horror movies. Yeah. That doesn't matter because like Lance Henriksen, she was like in everything in the 70s, 60s, 70s, not so much the 80s as much, but she was in a lot of the 60s and 70s horror movies cycles. And she was dubbed in a lot of those movies as well.
Here they were, I guess, like because this movie is 1978. They're saying coming off of the Vietnam War. They seem like they were talking about how they had to put the military in there and make them look like dipshits. You know, saying
it seemed to be a thing throughout the 80s. Actually, I mean, you get that in Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, okay, the Blob remake, that was what?
Yeah, it was 89. I think it was 88 or 8 or 9. Okay. It's either 88 or 89 one, but
which one?
The Blob remake.
Oh,
yeah.
I
think it's 88 actually, but it's within a year, you know. So,
yeah. The military was evil.
Yeah, they're like, not only are they evil in this one, they're stupid too.
Yeah.
They don't really listen to the main characters.
But the thing is, they know the piranhas are out there, and then they don't seem like they want to stop it for some reason. And there's no reason why they don't want to. But like later on, when the people are getting killed, it seems like they start trying to help the people. It's like they're surprised that people are getting killed. Like, what do they think was going to happen? You know? And it's like even the colonel, that evil colonel, who's not really that evil, but I think they're just stupid, really. Yeah. He's like trying to help people out of the water and gets pulled into the water by mistake and gets eaten. You know? So,
well, that brings the resort sequence, and like the final act, right? Yeah,
yeah, that's right. So, it's okay. So about that now, and this is like Joe Dante said that Roger Corman like wanted 2 climaxes. So he's like, we kind of did the same thing twice, just on bigger scales. Like we have the kids' summer camp, and they all get killed. And then like, you know, and then like, I guess like 20 minutes later, we have the big resort where like 3 times as many people get killed.
Actually, it seemed like not many of the kids got killed so much as nibbled a lot.
Yeah. They got nibbled.
That one main camp counselor, he got messed up. No question there.
He was still alive though.
Oh yeah, but there's that other secondary female counselor who, she got devoured.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that the actor playing that is like Paul Bartel. He's pretty well known indie kind of guy. He's also a director, or he was, but he's pretty funny in this.
His character as the main counselor, I found hilarious in this thing. I mean, just how intense and angry he is about keeping the kids from swimming at night, and he's all intense about like this summer camp competition.
What's bad about it is, and then the 2 counselors about to take their clothes off and go skinny dipping too, and he comes in and like bust it up, you know.
Yeah.
I thought they were about to repeat the opening scene there, you know, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
So just nudity at the beginning, guys. Just nudity.
There's other nudity. And this is funny. This is a Roger Corman moment because Joe Dante was talking about how Roger Corman was like, okay, now we want some nudity in there. I want to see like the some like boobs getting eaten by like fish, which they show in the later scene. They see like the bathing suits and the boobs, and then so Roger Corman came in to see the dailies, and he didn't watch that part, but he was showing the other stuff. It's like Roger Corman was like, okay, I like it, keep going or whatever. And he's like, well, don't you want to see the scenes of the boobs getting eaten by the fish or whatever? He's like, why would I want to see that? You know. So it's like the thing about Roger Corman is that he didn't actually like the violence. He just knew that people would want to see it, you know. So he's like, okay, we need it in there, but I don't necessarily want to see it myself, you know.
I love to see what he says about some of his the women in prison movies and the nurse cycle of movies and all the other ones then, because they all have plenty of nudity in those.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how much he didn't like the nudity. He probably just didn't want to see the. I mean, I don't. From this, it could have just been he didn't want to see the fish eating the boobs, you know. So
One more point about the main counselor that I found that cracked me up. That wasn't purposely, but yeah, when the counselor comes up and like the kids are about to start the race, he brings out a pistol and fires it into the air while he's around these little kids to like kick things off. And this isn't just a starter pistol he draws out. This looks like a serious weapon he has.
Yeah.
The guy's like 10-year-olds right next to him.
Right. The guy's like, it's definitely a little over the top, but it's funny though. I think it's
the 70s,
I guess.
70s were more innocent.
Yeah, it's hilarious. So, but it was, also like about 3/4 away or halfway through, like Dick Miller's character comes into play. He's also pretty. This is like he's in it. He's not just a cameo like he is sometimes. He's in it a pretty good bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
and it's actually a really good performance. So, and,
I was waiting when we would get to Dick Miller. So as much as I think he's in every Joe Dante movie.
So this one though, it's and Roger Corman was talking about Dick Miller before and how he got Roger Corman. He was in his one of his movies first, but Dick Miller came in and he had a script that he wanted to pitch. He had an idea for a script and he was pitching it. Roger Corman didn't really like his idea, but he's like, I really like the way you're pitching this script. Have you ever thought about acting? That's how he started acting. He got him in I think he said some kind of Western movie where he was playing like a cowboy. And he's in one scene there. He looked back and there wasn't enough Indians in the scene. And so he asked Dick Miller if he'd go put on the Indian wardrobe and get in the scene too. So he's like, Dick Miller said he's like one of the only, he's probably the only cowboy who's ever shot himself as an Indian.
Oh shit, Dick Miller, dude. Love to meet that guy. Didn't he pass away?
Yeah,
interesting that he just sort of stumbled into an acting career.
Yeah, and it was a pretty long acting career too, because a lot of his stuff was mostly like one scenes in a lot of things. In some of the movies he was in more. The first movie he was in, one of the earlier ones, that Bucket of Blood, he was the main character. But.
Yeah, I do wish that he had been given the opportunity to be the featured actor in a lot more movies, and he has a bigger role in Gremlins too. Right. That's the first one. And
the role in the first one's not. He's not probably 3 or 4 scenes. So a lot of times he'll just come in one scene, like in was it Chopping Mall, which originally known as Killbots, but he's like in pretty much one scene, like a janitor, and then gets killed.
Mm-hmm. Did he ever get to have any writing credits that you know of?
I'm not sure.
You have to do a lookup for him, but I do need to put Bucket of Blood on our list. So
here's some dialogue I wrote down from one of these scenes with Dick Miller that I thought was hilarious.
Oh, I can guess what it is.
So he's on the phone, and then he's talking to like these journalists, trying to tell them not there's nothing going on with the piranhas. And then this other guy walks up to him and he's like, "Sir, the piranhas," and he's like, "The piranhas
are eating the guests."
Yeah, there you go.
Single greatest line in the entire film.
Yeah. That was hilarious.
It's not just the line, though. It's just the delivery of that actor talking to Dick Miller at the time. He's just so deadpan and straight-laced about it.
Yeah, and he's like, it's somebody that he's on the phone talking to these journalists trying to say, and he's just like, I told you not to talk about the piranhas. Don't even say that word. He's like, but the piranhas. Like, what about the goddamn piranhas?
Oh, my God.
Sir,
yes, I do.
Piranhas are eating the guests.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the look on his face right after he says that, it's just like, oh shit. It's like I never thought they would be eating the guest,
But they're not going to eat the guest. They're going to have something else to eat.
I don't know what the army people thought. I don't know, but they seemed like they didn't think they would eat people, but they were actively doing it. I don't know what they thought. It's just,
All right.
Hey, it's the 70s.
We're blaming a lot of this movie on the time period, which we can do, because I guarantee you that everyone involved with this movie is now thinking, yeah, that's the 70s. We got away with a lot of shit that we probably shouldn't have, but you guys didn't care, so hey, it's all good.
But I'll tell you though, you go watch a lot of those made for TV movies. There's a lot less logic in those than there is in this.
Oh, good God! Yeah.
I mean, it's really well done for what it is. It is watchable, and I think the things that we're talking about, I think they're make it hilarious to me in a way. But I think if you go ahead.
No, I think a lot of what we're talking about on the show is mostly adds to the enjoyment and entertainment of watching the movie. Like we could be talking about the remake with William Catt, but because it had already been done better previously by 2 decades, it's like, why bother? Just go watch the original. There's no reason to watch the freaking remake.
Yeah. And they even used the same fish footage apparently for it.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that they never came out with greater sound effects for the piranhas when they started eating people.
You saw the 95 version, right, Kevin? So did they have that? Whatever.
Yeah. It's not. I don't think they came up with a better audio for the piranhas until Piranha 3D.
Yeah.
Much less 3 double D.
Yeah. Well, it's just Piranha. Yes, Piranha 3D, and then the next one's Piranha 3 double D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're still going.
No, those are real prehistoric piranhas that were buried in a cave.
I wonder who did that sound though. For the movie.
Oh, that's an interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Who did do that sound?
I don't know. They didn't say it on the director's commentaries.
It's very unique. I don't recall ever hearing it for any other creature. It's very unique. So,
yeah,
and it's very effective for the movie.
I'm guessing it's not a natural thing that happens underwater with fish, but
no.
So to kill the piranhas
with pollution,
they do. It's funny. Joe Dante was talking about. He's like, so John Sayles decided to write this into the script, to kill him with the pollution, and then that kind of goes with the military,
So apparently there is another industrial plant that's also on the same river that also is capable of opening the floodgates out into the river. But for this one, they actually have to go into the river underwater in order to turn the machinery and open the gates because it's flooded for some.
Yeah, it's flooded, and there's no it's just flooded for some reason. Nothing else is flooded, but that is,
I think there was a quick explanation for it, but I don't recall.
I think that's all they said. Like it's flooded. Okay, that's good enough.
I don't think it was I don't think they had a whole bunch of.
I think it's better that they left it at that than to have it's flooded because here's what happened last week. It was raining really hard. That's
I told you our lack of this movie doesn't need logic. It needs entertainment. That's all it needs.
And when that's happening too, though, because you do care for Bradford Dillman's character by this point. Mm-hmm. And he goes underwater, and you're like, man, this is same thing that happened to Kevin McCarthy is going to happen to him now. But it takes the piranhas a lot longer to get there. I guess they weren't even alerted to it for a while, But how there's so many piranhas is the thing. They're all in this one thing, and it's like they can go pretty fast. For instance, the guy on the ski boat, they're able to follow him all the way to where he goes.
That's true, actually. That's right.
It's like they're everywhere all at once,
They multiply. They mate really fast.
Maybe they do.
A day. The whole movie takes place within a day.
It's more than one day though, because it gets night. It's nighttime, and then that's another thing. It's like it takes them forever to get from the first place to going, and then they remember they get put in jail overnight, and then
that's right.
It takes them the piranhas a whole day to get to the next place, while they're in jail, to get to the summer camp or whatever they go to next. But then suddenly they can go as fast as a boat, and at the same time that's happening, they're over at the summer resort killing people too,
movie logic, people.
But still,
Movie lo-
this guy on the skis though. I mean,
Oh yeah.
he was like really. I think he was determined not to fall off those things. He was a pro, you know. The only
And it
reason,
also ends with an explosion,
yeah,
right? The
only thing that knocked him off of those skis was the other boat for some reason breaking his ski line. And he may have survived, but I don't see how he could have because of the anytime anyone else falls in the water, the piranhas get them. But yeah, for some reason, then the boat like goes and hits another boat, and there's an explosion. Apparently, that whole sequence too was second unit. Like there's a whole sequence of those two girls and the ski guy on the boat, and they have dialogue, and they had to loop it all because they apparently second unit wasn't allowed sound, so they just had to go out and shoot shit, and if they liked it, then they'd loop it, you know.
Wow, I need to listen to the commentary of this because the commentary for this sounds like it'd be very entertaining to listen to.
I didn't listen to the whole Roger Corman, but I listened to the whole Joe Dante's. I'll probably go back and listen to some Roger Corman one, just because he kind of he doesn't really stay on Piranha, but he did have some like that Frankenstein Unbound, which was interesting, which I think we're doing Friday or something like that.
Yeah, I've still got to rewatch it again.
Yeah, I hadn't watched it either, but I got like a DVD. I guess that's the best version of it. So
I think it's the only version.
yeah.
There has been a lot of great versions of some of Roger Corman produced films. Did you watch the 4K version of Piranha, or did you watch?
Yeah. It was pretty good though. Yeah, I mean, as far as the way it looked pretty good. Looked good in 4K.
Mine's still a standard DVD version. Sorry, I
It's
don't
fine.
watch Piranha enough to upgrade. Yeah, like I said, I think I've seen it though. When I rewatched it, I think that was the first time I saw it in maybe a decade or so. Yeah, I like Joe Dante as a filmmaker. I own most of his films. I just don't go back and rewatch many of them that often, except for Gremlins and Matinee. Those are
Matinee's really good. I like Matinee.
I used to watch Verbs again. Actually,
Verbs.
That's fun.
That one grew on me. I hated that movie when I first saw it. It grew over the years. It has. The only other one I really liked was The Howling, the original Howling that he did. But then over the years, I actually disliked that more. I don't think that aged for me as well as American Werewolf in London. I still think that's a great movie. The Howling didn't really age so well with me.
I think it looks though they've done a 4K remaster of it. It looks good, and I think that I had that kind of opposite with that one where I didn't like it originally, and I gave it another chance, and I liked it more the second time I watched it. So I don't know. I like the werewolves in it. I think they look pretty cool.
Of course, Rob Bottin did werewolf. They look great. It's the story aspect that doesn't really hold up for me. I
don't know. Maybe if you watch it with a better quality, with a remaster, because I think the older version I watched was like, sometimes when you look at those older movies and they're not remastered, they just look really shitty, like the quality of it. But I think if you look at the newer one, it kind of looks like almost like a new movie in a way.
I'd buy that. I'd upgrade that mine for a 4K on that one. I have a Blu-ray copy, the Shout Factory Blu-ray copy of it, but I don't have a 4K of that one.
Well, if you're at the Blu-ray copy, it looks pretty good. So you just don't like it, then you're like.
Okay, for everyone out there, out of all of Joe Dante's films, Howling, I used to watch every year a new one came out. So when they go into that phase of let's release a new Howling movie every fucking year, I'd rewatch all of them in order to get caught up in the new one, and none of them have anything to do with any of the other ones. So that's the franchise that always was.
Well, except for the first one and the second one, dude, because Your Sister's a Werewolf is actually Dee Wallace's character. But it's loosely.
But in reality, but they're all different. They're all different. Do I have it here?
I think there's like the fifth one that's kind of like an Agatha Christie type of murder mystery. It's
Rebirth. Cool. I actually really like Rebirth.
Yeah,
I actually really like Rebirth. Like just while we're talking about Howling, because I think
Rebirth might have been the first Howling movie that I really got into. I mean, at that point, I had just been catching those films on just like, Sunday afternoon cable matinees.
There's one after. There's one called The Freaks that's pretty good too. That takes place at a circus. It's
I never liked
pretty
that
unique.
one.
Yeah,
Does that involve like the werewolf versus the vampire?
Yes,
yeah.
with Bruce Payne or Brian, I can't remember his name.
I
Payne.
think you're right. Yeah, he's
Uh,
got he's got to play the Warlock in the third Warlock movie. You know.
yeah, that's what I was about to say.
I think his name is Bruce Marion Payne or something like that.
Yeah. So you would think it'd be really cool, but the werewolf looks really weird because the guy's on stilts, with
Yeah.
like the things, and so the werewolf looks really weird to me, and so I never really took to that one.
Yeah. And then like the third one was it shot in Australia? It's like the
The marsupials.
marsupials. Yeah, I've got a copy of that one.
And pieces. How well does that hold up?
The special effects would never held up for that one.
Huh.
The story I always liked for the third one, but the special effects were never that good. But that director went off to do the fourth one, which is essentially a remake of the first one. And then of course, number 7 was a really, really, really shitty one. New Moon Rising or the New Blood Moon or some crap like that. It's really hard to find now. It's really shitty. And then of course they did the reboot, Howling Reborn, which I just purchased because that's the only one I hadn't seen more than the one time. Like I found it for like five.
Which one you talking about?
Howling Reborn, and the last one they did, which I thought, it's a teenager a howling film.
Oh yeah.
So, but Joe Dante's franchise extended all the way out to what, 8 fucking movies. It's someone needs to remake it.
Yeah, they really could have been a lot better, those Howling movies. Like it kind of, I don't know. Some of them are okay, but I don't. It's kind of like there's another franchise like that. They were just all disconnected, and it seemed like they got kind of I don't know. But yeah, they could have been better for sure.
Yeah, just look at the Children of the Corn movie.
Yeah. Which I mean, I guess they all kind of follow the same type of thing there, but Children of the Corn. But I guess they all have werewolves in them. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, it may have been a situation too where they didn't have rights to the original, like Friday the 13th, where they couldn't really they didn't have rights to the first movie. Sometimes,
I like to see how close the book is, the movie is to the books. I had the book, but
that might be what it is though. Like they might have to have whoever wrote the book might have the rights to it. Those characters, I don't know that. I'm just guessing.
We're all just guessing at this point. Who's looking up the rights to the book?
Yeah.
I only had the book for the Howling and the Howling 2 because I happened to find it in a used bookstore and say, "Ooh, let me pick these 2 books up." I've never fucking read them. They're sitting on my shelf. I may never get around to reading them, but I have them.
Yeah, it's a nice collector's item.
Well, yeah, I have the Amityville horror books too, but I ain't read that shit either.
I think I tried to at one point. I just didn't get into it at the time.
So, with that, since we got so far on tangents from Piranha and Joe Dante and everything else, are there any final words you guys would like to say about Joe Dante's Piranha / Sales or Dick Miller or
quick little factoid about the main actress in Piranha? Her name was Heather Menzies Urix. Apparently, she was one of the kids from The Sound of Music. I mean, that was an early role for her.
I recognize her immediately.
Oh, really?
Nah, just kidding.
Oh, okay.
I did see that movie a bunch in school. They kind of made us watch it like over and over again. I mean, it was only half the movie. They were like, however long the class was, and then it's like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen next.
I have never seen The Sound of Music.
I will make me watch it, man.
So you're saying you've seen the first half dozens of times?
Yeah.
No idea how it ends.
Yeah, I had no idea. I assume they all die at the end. Is that?
Oh my god! Maybe that'll be our next spin-off podcast: the Conversations in Musicals or something like that. I won't be able to get any of you.
Todd or something. Yeah.
I won't be able to get any of you to talk about any musicals, probably, except for Sweeney Todd.
I can talk about some musicals.
I can talk about RRR with that Indian thing.
I don't know. I don't know if we'll have probably even have less of an audience if we did that too. Unless we sang.
No, we might have a bigger
audience. We have
audience.
zero audience.
We have to build our audience just like everyone else does.
Yeah,
So, how about you? Any more final words, Nate or Dave?
man, I think I said everything. I should have held something back, but I think I said everything I had. I don't know. But
How about you, Nate?
Well, another lesson here. If you see a kid having a hard time on an upside down canoe farther down the river, just wait until the raft gets to him before you try to help that kid. You know?
right, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Oh,
I agree with that though, because it was very unnecessary. I mean, it would have been better had he died like when the raft came apart, or something. But I guess the raft wouldn't have come apart had he not got the blood on it.
yeah. So, and for everyone out there listening, despite the fact that I am going to speak highly of Piranha 2 more so than Piranha, do not dismiss the fact that I am a huge Joe Dante fan.
Something about Piranha too, though. They're talking about that too. Like James Cameron didn't actually like direct that much of that movie. He directed parts of it, but there's like a producer who really they hired him because I think the producer was I think he was maybe Italian or something like that. But they wanted the name of the director to be American because they didn't want American audiences to know it was not directed by an American. And so they pretty much like directed a lot of the movie, and they kicked James Cameron out of the editing room. And apparently James Cameron did another edit of it that has been released in some points. I think so there are two edits of it. Hopefully they'll eventually release his edit in a better version. I think right now there is a Blu-ray version of the original theatrical edit, but not James Cameron's edit.
Oh, you don't have it? Shout Factory did a Blu-ray version, I thought.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There is, but it's your theatrical version and not the James Cameron version. I think the James Cameron version, it may have been available, like showed it on TV or something like that, But they let him eventually, once he became more famous, they were like, oh, okay, well, we should probably get him to come back in and do a re-edit of this thing, try to make some more money,
He's saying no.
Yeah, well, he did it though. He did it. He came out.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, so he did. So as I'm saying this, he didn't do a David Fincher with Alien 3, who refuses to go back and fix that movie.
I don't know if you could fix that movie, man. I just don't see it happening after that opening shit. Yeah.
No,
it's like no.
Just so that everyone knows, if you go and read the novelization of the original screenplay, David Fincher had some brilliant ideas for that. And it's sad what happened to the movie, just like it was sad what happened to James Cameron and Piranha 2: The Spawning. We can't say that about Joe Dante because Joe Dante wasn't there for the second unit.
Now I'm gonna have to track down a novelization of Alien 3.
Oh yeah, they just released it.
Really?
Yeah, they did a really good version because it's sitting right here, and I keep wanting to look at it. So people out there, you can't see it, but they did the original unproduced screenplay by William Gibson. It was amazing. I read the screenplay a long time, but William Gibson did
the William Gibson screenplay.
But Newton Hicks still died at the beginning of it, though, right? Before anything ever happened.
Yes, but it's got a lot more religious undertones, which they cut out because the studio didn't get with Fincher and William Gibson were trying to do with the film. So they cut out all the religious overtones in the movie completely, and that's what made the movie, the story, so interesting. I was like, you have these inmates who saw the alien as a godlike being and stuff. I was like, holy shit, this is really cool. And they cut all that stuff out because they didn't get it. The studio didn't get it at all. So you're not making this. Cut it.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's okay. I got a little confused there because I was thinking about this other Alien screenplay that William Gibson did that was also adapted by Dark Horse Comics.
Yes, they did it too.
So
yeah, okay. They did okay. And this is our last tangent, everybody. But they did.
Wow.
Dark Horse released the comic before the movie came out, so they were working from the original screenplay when they did the comic book. So the comic book is different than the movie, and that's why people knew that there was a difference. There were two different versions of this that was made, and Fincher got, in theory, from what I've been told, Fincher got so mad at the process of working with 20th Century Fox in this fucking movie that a lot of stuff got cut before he even started shooting it. He was behind the schedule, so they start cutting everything. They didn't like his religious overtones and stuff. They start cutting it. So if you watch the producer's version of Alien 3, they don't have the actual footage because they never shot it. So they have like these still images to kind of piece together the original story, but doesn't really work.
Yeah,
I don't
that
know.
sucks, man. I don't like that.
And again, I'm thinking of an additional screenplay that William Gibson wrote that was an entirely different thing that did not take place on the Prison Planet and was, again, adapted by Dark Horse Comics.
Well, you do know, you could be right, because this one says it's the unproduced first draft, which I didn't take notice of at all until now. So there could be multiple drafts, and this could be the one you're talking about. This is recent. They just published this like last year. I just haven't read it yet. But the original comic book came out right before the movie came out. So. But I'm gonna end the episode here. Thank you all for joining us on Conversations on Horror. As you now know, we take tangents whenever we can, and we try and make it as entertaining as possible. I want you to go out there, check out some of our other previous episodes for our podcast. Also, make sure to check out our sister podcast, which is a Patreon-only podcast, which is Conversations in 4-Color, which focuses on comic books, graphic novels, and manga. Check that out. It is a Patreon-only supported podcast, so make sure you become one of our supporters. With that, I want you to hope and subscribe and like and do all the things that you do with podcasts on your most valuable podcast app. Also, you can go to our website to find direct links to the episodes and go to our YouTube page or Vimeo page as well. So you can find our podcast in a lot of different spots is what I'm trying to say. So with that, I want to thank you all for joining us for this Roger Corman kind of tribute that we're doing right now with Piranha. And we'll see you on the next one. All right. Have a good day. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, produced by Kevin L. Powers, executive produced by Kelly A. Inoka, and originally filmed via Zoom technology. Conversations in Horror is hosted by Kevin L. Powers and co-hosted by various horror film lovers and filmmakers. To learn more about Mr. Powers, please make sure to check out his Patreon page and other social media platforms. Conversations in Horror is copyright 2024 Broken Lighthouse Pictures production.